Audio recorded August 21, 2023 by Cybelle Manvailer for educational sharing in audiobook Flor de Ouro Malik Cosa Nova. Book Condiments and Spices. Condiments and spices. Ingredients that enrich food. Condiments and spices have their significance in the history of human food. Since antiquity until today, man has been looking for something beyond food itself, and this has been developing the art of eating and drinking, innovating different tastes and flavors in food. Additives and ingredients. Condiments and spices. The origin. Spices, also known as condiments, have been used since prehistoric times and were of great importance for trade and wealth accumulation, being used for the most diverse functions. Embalming in ancient Egypt, for medicinal purposes in other countries, and in hot climates where refrigeration was scarce, served to mask the taste and odor of meats at the beginning of decomposition. The word spice refers to any product of plant origin, aromatic, such as pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves, etc., used in cooking to season food and flavor sauces, canned goods and others. In its figurative form, it is something that enriches or alters the quality of something, especially in a small degree, that gives vivacity or poignancy, a spicy or pleasant taste. From there, idiomatic expressions such as the seasoning of love, the seasoning of life, and others were born. The spice trade dates back 2 days before recorded history. Archaeologists estimate that around 50,000 BC, primitive man had already discovered that parts of certain aromatic plants help to improve the taste of food. To get an idea of what could have happened, one can imagine that primitive man, after roasting the product of his hunt, decided to protect it from the ashes resulting from the fire and other dirtiness. He wrapped his roast beef in a few leaves and left the whole thing near the ashes. Later, to his surprise, he observed that the leaves had given his meal a new flavor. At this time, humanity had just discovered the art of seasoning food. If we believe the myths of the Assyrians, whose cuneiform clay tablets represent the oldest writings discovered, at least one spice was known before the world was created. This ancient civilization that lived thousands of years before Christ, said that their gods drank wine from sesame seeds or sesame before creating the earth. From the hieroglyphs on the walls of the pyramids to the scriptures in the Bible, there are constant mentions of spices and their importance in the lives of these ancient peoples. Some of the spices, herbs and seeds we know today were already cultivated by primitive peoples in the Western world. On ancient trade routes, caravans with up to 4,000 camels transported spices and goods from the east, passing through Goa and Kozhikode, to reach the markets of Nineveh, Babylon, Carthage, Alexandria and Rome. The route from Gilead to Egypt was part of the famous Golden Road to Samarkand, where for hundreds, if not thousands of years, pepper and cloves were transported from India, cinnamon and nutmeg from the Moluccas, and ginger from China. For hundreds of years, ships cruised the Indian coast, through the pirate-infested Persian Gulf, the coast of South Arabia, and across the Red Sea to Egypt. This was the typical way to bring spices from the east to the Western world. Shipwrecks and storms brought heavy losses and there was constant theft. but the risks were outweighed by the eventual profits in the Greek and Roman eras, where spices were in great demand. They were so expensive that only the rich could use them. The spices and aromatic herbs that flavored the delicacies served at Roman banquets were many and varied. Medicines required large amounts of spices and herbs. Bay leaves were used for the crowns of Olympic heroes. Scented balms were used in baths. Spice wines were popular. Incenses. Tasty and healthier food. Malt extract illustrative picture. Lia technica, the reference in the production of industrial ingredients, gained market recognition and became the main supplier of malt extract in dry or syrup versions, the healthy and nutritious ingredient, produced under the strictest quality standards. Perfect for various applications such as powdered and ready-to-drink chocolate, cookies, breakfast cereals, chocolates, ice cream, bakery products, among others. In addition to having a nutrient-rich composition, it has numerous sensory, technological and functional benefits, which add value to its products. Lia technica, naturally your best choice. Enhances and rounds the flavor, rich in fermentable sugars and essential amino acids made from spices. They were burned in temples and even along the roads. Since 950 BC and for centuries, the Arabs dominated this dangerous but lucrative trade. They left European buyers completely in the dark as to the provenance of these spices. In fact, they bought the products from Indian, Chinese and Japanese merchants who took them to the ports of India. To better understand the importance of spices in these times, it should be remembered the food was neither tasty nor palatable. There was no refrigerator, so much of the meat was obtained in the fall and preserved in salt. There were no potatoes, corn, tea, coffee or chocolate. There was no lemon to prepare refreshing drinks, nor sugar to sweeten them. Thus, a pinch of pepper, a little cinnamon or ginger had a miraculous effect on the foods available. The demand for spices was huge and spread throughout ancient Gaul. Alaric the Visigoth demanded a ransom of gold, silver and pepper from Rome. He asked for 3,000 pounds of pepper and later an additional 300 pounds a year. It was not long before the barbarian peoples of the north learned that spices kept meat fresh longer, thus reducing shortages and supply problems when away from home on war expeditions. In the Middle Ages, whether by sea or land, spices had to pass through the city of Cairo, Egypt. From there they were transported to the port of Alexandria, where they were bought and loaded onto Venetian and Genoese ships. The spice trade, to supply the demands of medieval cuisine, was not only large in volume, but also in value, being valued at a minimum of 1,000,000 ducats, the gold coin used as the currency of trade. In Europe during the Middle Ages, a pound of ginger was worth the price of a sheep. A pound of mace bought 3 ewes for half a cow. Cloves were worth the equivalent of $20. Pepper was the most expensive and counted in grains. In Elizabethan times, London dockkeepers had their pockets sewn shut so that no spice could be stolen from them. In the 11th century, many cities kept their bills in pepper. Taxes and rents were paid with this spice. To get an idea of its value, a bag of pepper was worth a man's life. In the year 1271, a young Phoenician set out with his father and uncle on a journey that would take them across Asia, to legendary Cathay, or China. This young man's name was Marco Polo, and his book about the voyage led to the fall of Venice, the destruction of the Arab Empire, the discovery of the New World, and the opening of trade with the East. Suddenly, European traders realized that they could reach these places by ship. The mystery that surrounded the distant lands where spices came from had been unraveled and told to the world by Marco Polo. The whole of Europe awoke to a new conquest. The first was Portugal, then Spain and England, then Holland, and even the United States entered this historic competition. For nearly 4 centuries, major Western nations have raced east and fought for control of spice-producing lands. This race for spices was directly responsible for the discovery of the new continent. Portugal remained dominant in the spice trade until the end of the 16th century, when the Netherlands entered the competition. The Dutch India Company was created in 1602 to coordinate the activities of companies competing in trade in the East Indies and to act as an arm of the Dutch state in its struggle against Spain. His monopoly extended from the Cape of Good Hope to the Strait of Magellan. Dutch influence and activity expanded throughout the Malay archipelago, China, Japan, India, Persia and the Cape of Good Hope. France's role in the spice trade was secondary and not supported by its government. They were not able to create a monopoly as the Arabs, Venetians, Genoese, Portuguese and Dutch did, but they helped to destroy the Dutch monopoly. In 1770, they took large quantities of cloves, cinnamon and nutmeg plants from the Dutch possessions and took them to be cultivated in the French islands of Reunion, Mauritius and Seychelles in the Indian Ocean and in French Guiana. The English also went after the spices. In this search, they made important discoveries in North America, but did not find spices. The English East India Company, later called the British East India Company, was a majestic company formed by London merchants in 1600 under the name Company of Merchants of London, trading to the East Indies, whom the Queen Elizabeth I granted a monopoly on trade with the East Indies for a period of 15 years. The British India Company Orientals had a monopoly on the sale of tea in the colonies. In 1780, the British and Dutch fought a war that led to the downfall of the Dutch East India Company. In 1795 they took Malacca from the Dutch and, a year later, all the properties and commercial centers in the region, with the exception of Java. The Dutch India Company was dissolved in 1799. Nowadays, spices are mainly used as cooking condiments, antioxidant and antimicrobial properties. Food contains components such as carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, vitamins and pigments that regulate its taste, appearance and nutritional value. Some of these components may be sensitive to irradiation and, if the dose is high, it may cause harmful changes in the taste, odor and color of these foods. The alterations caused by irradiation in the sensory properties of foods are mainly the result of chemical reactions, among which lipid oxidation, which results in the rancid taste. Lipid oxidation can be prevented by adding antioxidants. Antioxidants are substances capable of sequester or prevent the formation of free radicals. These present in low concentrations, when compared to an oxidizable substrate, delay or inhibit the oxidation of that substrate in an effective way, inhibiting the formation of free radicals in the initiation primary antioxidant in the oxidation chain or interrupting the propagation secondary antioxidant of the chain of free radicals. When selecting antioxidants, the following properties are desirable. Effectiveness at low concentrations 0.001% to 0.01%, absence of undesirable effects on color, odor, flavor or other characteristics of the food, and easy application. In addition to these, stability in process and storage conditions and the compound and its oxidation products cannot be toxic, even in much larger doses than those normally ingested in food. Current legislation, cost and consumer preference must also be considered by natural products. The antioxidant effect of spices was first demonstrated in 1952 in 32 spices, of which rosemary and sage were found to be the most effective. Later, this action was proven in oregano and thyme, in ginger, in pepper, in mustard, in cinnamon, and in coriander, among others. The antioxidant properties of rosemary are well recognized. It is considered a lipid antioxidant and a metal chelator, in addition to acting in the absorption of superoxide radicals. Studies have verified that oregano essential oil, rich in thymol and cardaceol, has a considerable antioxidant effect on the oxidation process of animal oils and fats. Research has shown that dehydrated oregano and rosemary obtained antioxidant action in cooked chicken breast meatballs and stored under refrigeration, with rosemary at a concentration of 0.050% being more efficient. Another research analyzed the influence of natural antioxidants on the lipid profile of beef hamburgers. It was observed that rosemary has a high antioxidant potential both at a concentration of 77.67% and at a concentration of 85.62%. And its best performance occurs when used in synergism with BHT/BHA at a concentration of 89.71%. It was also observed that the aqueous extract of oregano has reduced oxidation inhibitor potential when compared to rosemary extract, using a concentration of 75.15% and rosemary 85.62%, but used in synergism with BHT/BHA has an antioxidant potential of 97.38%. Another study also studied the antioxidant protection of oregano and rosemary when used in pre-cooked sardine fillets. It found that the addition of 0.10% oregano prevented more than rosemary the oxidation of lipids during 6 days of refrigerated storage. In addition to the antioxidant properties, spices have antimicrobial action. The food industry aims to produce foods that have a long shelf life and are harmless to the presence of pathogenic microorganisms and their toxins. Consumers are looking for good quality food, free of preservatives and minimally processed, but with a long shelf life. With the spread of modern preservation techniques, there was an accentuated and renewed interest in some spices, used mainly as food condiments. In addition to participating as ingredients in countless foods, making them tastier and more digestive, they have an indirect and complementary action as antimicrobial agents due to the presence of essential oils. was this perspective of substituting synthetic additives for natural preservatives present in condiments. Researchers claimed that the substitution of synthetic additives for natural ones will fundamentally depend on the determination of an ideal concentration. According to studies, concentrations normally used to enhance aroma and flavor, which range from 0.5% to 1%, do not inhibit microbial development, which depends on concentrations greater than 1%. Chemical substances in essential oils have compounds capable of directly or indirectly inhibiting bacterial and somatic systems, even though most microorganisms are still unknown. Its behavior is similar to that of antibiotics, which are defined as chemical substances capable of killing or inhibiting the growth of bacteria or other microorganisms. The characterization of the target cell is decisive for this application, and only natural compounds, which act on essential systems for the reproduction and survival of these microorganisms, have antibiotic activity. Thus, the inactivation of these systems in cellular metabolism has lethal effects. Phenolic compounds are mainly responsible for the antimicrobial activity of essential oils. Components present in smaller amounts also play their role, probably engaging in synergistic interactions with phenolic compounds. Considering the large number of different groups and chemical compounds present in essential oils, it is suggested that their antibacterial effect is not attributed to a specific mechanism, but is involved with several targets in sensitive cells. The main effects would be degradation of the cell wall, damage to the cytoplasmic membrane, loss of cellular constituents, and coagulation of the cytoplasm. These same mechanisms do not function as separate targets and may occur as a consequence of each other. According to research, an important characteristic of essential oils and their components is their hydrophobic character, which allows them to bind to the lipids of the cell membrane, modifying its structure and increasing its permeability. Due to this permeability, the passage of ions and other cellular constituents can occur, causing cell death. Generally, essential oils that have greater antimicrobial activity have higher concentrations of eugenol, carvacrol and thymol, and the chemical structure of the individual components of the oils affects their mode of action in the bacterial cell. Several studies have been carried out evaluating the antimicrobial potential of essential oils of cinnamon, clove, cumin, garlic, oregano, black pepper, and rosemary, on the surface of solid culture medium, against Carnobacterium piscicula, Lactobacillus curvatus, Lactobacillus acre, Pseudomonas florescens, Brachythrix thermosfacta and Serratioliquifus, which are the main spoilage microorganisms of meat products. Cinnamon, clove, rosemary, pepper and garlic oils were the most effective, showing an inhibitory effect at concentrations of 1% V/V against all microorganisms tested. The other oils tested were less efficient, showing an inhibitory effect only at concentrations above 10% V/V. Audio recorded August 21, 2023 by Cybelle Manvailer for educational sharing in audiobook. Flor de aromatic Cosa Nova. The main spices. Spices began to be used in cooking based on the knowledge of their properties, such as stimulating appetite and imparting aroma before and during cooking. They are responsible for the spicy flavor in meat, fish and vegetables, and also provide excellent cooking oils, such as sesame oil. They are widely used as flavoring liqueurs, especially absinthe and aniseed. Spices are also an important highlight for sauces, ketchups, sausages and salamis, in addition to being used as ingredients in canned and preserved products. Although there is divergence regarding the list of the main spices used in the world, some of them are better known and are always cited in the various bibliographical references on this topic. Cinnamon and cassia, Cinnamomum valenicum. Cinnamomum valum is the oldest of spices, used since time immemorial in China and the Indies. However, it is not these countries of origin that gave it its name. The etymology of the name cinnamon, although subject to controversy, would come from the Hebrew kane hollow stem, which in Greek is translated by cinnamon and, in Latin, by cannula. Cinnamon has been known since antiquity and was so prized that it was considered an item to be presented to monarchs and other dignitaries. Cinnamon and cassia are the bark of evergreen trees. However, there are multiple species of trees. The most common species are, on the one hand, Cinnamomum presell, Cinnamomum valenicum bloom or true cinnamon, and on the other, Cinnamomum cassia presell, Cinnamomum floweri and Cinnamomum bermanii bloom, which represent the cassia species. There are many other species, but without great value in international trade. Cinnamon and cassia are reddish-brown to dark brown, depending on the species. The spice in its whole form consists of long, slender twigs, pieces of bark that have curled up as they dry. Cinnamomum presell. Cinnamomum valenicum bloom is industrially known as Ceylon cinnamon, Seychelles cinnamon or true cinnamon. It is lighter in color and milder in flavor. The oil from the leaf of this cinnamon plant is unique because it has eugenol as its major constituent, from 70% to 90%. Its cinnamic aldehyde content is very low, less than 5%. The other species have cinnamic aldehyde as the main constituent of the leaf oil. Cinnamomum bark oil, in turn, contains about 60% cinnamic aldehyde and 10% eugenol. Other constituents are eugenol acetate and small amounts of aldehydes, ketones, alcohols, esters and terpenes. Cinnamomum floweri, also known as Saigon cassia or Vietnamese cassia, is grown mainly in Vietnam. Saigon cassia once had a reputation in the industry as a premium quality product. Contains cinnamic aldehyde as the main volatile constituent of its oil. Cinnamomum cassia presell, also known as Chinese cassia, Canton cassia, or a variety of other geographical designations in China, is often described as having a sweeter aroma than other varieties and can have very high volatile oil content. Cinnamomum cassia contains approximately 85% to 90% cinnamic aldehyde. The leaf oil of this species also contains a high percentage of cinnamic aldehyde. Cinnamomum bermanii bloomi, also known as orangey or Batavia cinnamon, is a high-quality product, with volatile oils ranging from 1% to 3.5%. Orangey cinnamon is purchased based on its volatile oil content. The higher the volatile oil content, the higher the price. Generally, it is classified by A, B and C, with A being the best quality and C being the poorest quality. Cinnamomum burmannii can be distinguished from other cinnamon or cassia species by having a high content of mucilaginous substances or gums. This content varies around 8% to 9% against 0.73% to 2.9% in other species. Cinnamon or cassia is purchased from the food industry based on its oil content. 3 levels of volatile oils are recommended: 1.5% to 2%, 2% to 2.5%, and 2.5% to 3%, using the bottom number in a range as the minimum. Higher the oil content, higher the value of the product. The American Spice Trade Association has set the moisture level at 14% for all species of cinnamomum. Most good quality cinnamon should have an ash and acid-insoluble ash content of less than 5% and 1%, respectively. Cinnamon sticks are mainly sold to specialized food services and some industries and specialized retail stores. In this presentation they are also used in infusions. The largest volume is marketed in ground, powdered form. One of the largest consumer sectors is bakery and confectionery. Cinnamon and derivative oils can also be used in processed meats and condiments. Peppers include paprika, chili pepper, red pepper, bell pepper, capsicum annuum and capsicum frutescens, among others. Capsicum is the genus of plants whose fruits are bell peppers, the sweet varieties, while the spicy varieties are peppers, also called chili peppers, but with countless species and cultivars known by several other names. They are plants of the solanaceae family, to which tomatoes and potatoes also belong. These peppers have no botanical relationship with black pepper, also called black pepper, round pepper or peppercorns, or piper nigrum. Peppers can be used for medicinal and culinary purposes, as a spice or in sauces, while peppers are generally used as a vegetable or vegetable. The countless varieties can be divided, in a general way, in 2 great species: the capsicum annuum, annual plants of the temperate regions, and capsicum frutescens, perennial plants of the tropics. Several species of capsicum are cultivated and each has several cultivars and preparation methods that give them different looks, names and characteristics. The capsicum annuum species produces peppers, paprika and several varieties of Mexican peppers, such as poblano, jalapeno, Anaheim, New Mexico and serrano. The species Capsicum frutescens produces peppers known by the names of cayenne, Tabasco, artol, ají and piquin, while Capsicum chinense produces some of the hottest chilies, such as habaneros. The species Capsicum pubescens produces the South American rocato, and Capsicum baccatum, the chiltepin. Casta recommends a maximum moisture content of 11% in all capsicum peppers. Peppers are highly susceptible to surface mold contamination, both during harvesting and during drying. The volatile oil content is low in all capsicum varieties and therefore not considered as a specification. The heat for peppers and the color for paprika are the most important parameters when choosing these products. Ash and acid-insoluble ash contents generally remain below 8% and 1% for red pepper and 8% and 3% for paprika. The pigment responsible for the red color of peppers in the capsicum family is capsanthin. It is a carotenoid present in all capsicum and is the most important compound in paprika. Other carotenoids present are capsarubin, zeaxanthin, lutein and cryptoxanthin, in addition to carotene and carotene. The pigment content increases as the fruit ripens and is maintained after maturity. Color retention during storage is influenced by light and temperature. The higher the temperature at which the product is stored, the faster the paprika loses its pigmentation. Refrigerated storage is desirable if the product is to be kept for long period of time. Another factor that influences color retention is the level of humidity. Humidity levels that are too low can weaken the color. The optimum moisture content is considered to be 12%. The calorific value of paprika is normally expressed according to the Astor scale and consists of the extractable color present in paprika. The surface coloring is not a determining factor of the amount of color contained. Even if one paprika is redder than another, it may have less extractable color. The extractable color is one that will appear in a ready-to-eat food product. The most commonly available ASTA colors for paprika are 85, 100, 120 and 150. The color can also be expressed in color units, which equal 40 times the Astor values. This scale is most commonly used for oleo resin. Thus, oleo resins are available in 40,000, 80,000 and for snacks, salad dressings and entrees. Red or cayenne pepper has capsaicin 8-methyl N-vanatyl 6-enamide as a pungent component. It is a white crystalline substance, insoluble in water and noticeable in dilutions of 1 in 15 to 17 million. It has no taste or odor of its own. The level of capsaicin varies greatly in capsicum-type peppers, from less than 0.05% in paprika, to 0.1% in slightly pungent types, to a high value of 1.3% in the hottest chilies. In practice, the level of heat is determined by the Scoville method, an organoleptic test used on peppers, or the HPLC method. Audio recorded August 21, 2023 by Cybelle Manvailer for educational sharing in audiobook. Flor de Ouro Malik Cosa Nova. 100,000 color units, as a general rule, which corresponds, on the ASTA scale, to values of 1,000 to 1,000 and 2,500. Paprika normally comes from Spain, Morocco and Hungary. All paprika is ground at source, unlike other spices which are shipped whole and then processed locally. Historically, Hungarian paprika has been known for its high quality. Paprika is used extensively, since it has a bright red color and extremely mild flavor. It is used wherever red and orange color is desired, such as in processed meats products. Oleo resin is a pepper extract with a very concentrated heat. Capsaicin is not present in the seeds of chili peppers, although there is still some controversy about this. Its concentration is higher in the fleshy part than in the pericarp portion of the pepper. Red pepper is used in a wide variety of products, often in processed meats, in ground or powdered form. Any product that has some heat or heat uses pepper, usually in powder form or as oleoresins. such as in processed meats, snack products, and sauces. The list is endless. Chili peppers are the dried product of milder species and are generally grown in the American Southwest and Mexico. The two types of chilies used for chili peppers are Anco and Anaheim. Laguna peppers are typically a blended product of different chilies to achieve the exact flavor profile and desired color. They are often caramelized to acquire a burnt flavor and a golden-colored surface. It is available in a wide variety of products. Common Scoville values for chili peppers are moderate, approximately 1000. The surface color is the most important factor in this type of pepper. Chili peppers are mainly used to make chili pepper powder and are used extensively in Mexican foods. Cardamom. Eleuteria cardamomum matin was first used around AD 700 in southern India and was first imported into Europe around 1200 AD. India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia and Sumatra. It is currently grown in Nepal, Thailand and Central America. It is a widely used spice in Korea, Vietnam and Thailand. The name cardamom is used to designate several species in three genera of the Zingiberaceae family, Eleuteria, Amomum and Aphramomum. Cumin is the ripe, dried fruit of an herb in the parsley family. It originates from Egypt and the Mediterranean region. The fruit or seed, as it is commonly called, is greenish-brown, long and narrow, with ridges running down its length. The taste is warm and bitter, also often described as caraway-like. This similarity is questionable, since essential oil components are quite dissimilar. Cumin can contain from 2% to 5% volatile oil, with the values usually found being 2%, 3% and 5%. Its main component is cumaldehyde or cuminic aldehyde. Cumin essential oil is available and used in the food industry. Oleo resin, on the other hand, is not used much. However, it is available and contains between 7% and 12% volatile oil. CASTA recommends a humidity limit of 9%. The ash and acid-insoluble ash content are 5% to 8% and 0.2% to 1%, respectively. This spice is commercially used to flavor many ethnic dishes. It is an essential component of Mexican foods, along with chili pepper and oregano. The use of cumin is prevalent in many Latin American cuisines. Indian cuisine also uses a large amount of cumin. It is an essential component of curries. It is usually used ground. The cloves, Caryophyllus aromaticus L. or Syzygium aromaticum, is a tree native to the Molucca Islands, Indonesia, belonging to the Myrtaceae family. It is currently grown in other regions of the world, such as the islands of Madagascar and Grenada. The bud of its flower, dried, has been used as a spice since antiquity, used in cooking and in the manufacture of medicines. Its oil has antiseptic properties, being widely used in dentistry. One of the most prized spices on the market in the early 16th century, 1 kilogram of cloves was equivalent to 7 grams of gold. Cardamom can contain between 2% and 10% essential oil, although a level of 3% to 8% is most common. These values refer to whole pods ground. The seed contains the highest percentage of volatile oil, approximately 11%. the pods only contain about 1%. The seeds make up approximately 60% to 80% of the total weight of the whole cardamom. The volatile oil contains 25% to 40% cineol, 30% to 40% terpinol acetate, and approximately 1% to 2% limonene. At least 15 other constituents have been identified, including linalool acetate, linalool, borneol, terpinol, and limonene, to name a few. Cardamom oleoresin generally contains between 45% and 70% volatile oil. Casa recommends 12% maximum moisture in the whole pod. Ash levels regularly range from 4% to 9%, and acid-insoluble ash content can be as high as 2%. It is extensively used in Middle East countries. Cuminum cyminum has its seeds, in the form of grains, being used as a spice since ancient times in cooking. The main consumer of cloves in the world is Indonesia, responsible for the consumption of more than 50% of world production. The main use of this plant is not, however, in the kitchen, but in the manufacture of cigarettes flavored with cloves, extremely popular, to the point of saying that the whole country, due to this habit, seems to be scented with the mild and characteristic aroma of cloves. Whole cloves contain a high level of volatile oil, up to 20% by weight, which can cause grinding difficulties. The main component is eugenol, present in approximately 70% to 90% of whole cloves. 3 essential oils can be extracted from this spice: bud oil, clove oil, and clove leaf oil. Each has a different chemical composition and taste. The bud oil is the oil more expensive and better quality essentials. Contains 80% to 90% eugenol, up to 15% eugenol acetate, and 5% to 12% caryophyllene. The yield extracted from the buds is approximately 17% by weight. The oil from the stalk is second in terms of quality. The eugenol content of this essential oil is 90% to 95%. Eugenol acetate and caryophyllene are also present, but in lower amounts than in bud oil. The extracted yield is approximately 5% to 7% of the stalk weight. Leaf oil is produced from the top branches of trees that have been trimmed. The distilled oil obtained from this part of the plant is of low quality and less expensive. The leaf yield is below 2%, and the main component is also eugenol, 80% to 88%. Clove oleoresin contains approximately 40% to 60% volatile oil. Casa recommends a humidity limit of 8%. Ash and acid-insoluble ash contents are typically less than 5% and less than 0.5%, respectively. Ginger Zingira officinale roscoe is an Asian plant, originally from the island of Java, East India and China, from where it spread to other tropical regions of the world. It has been known in Europe since very remote times, where it was taken through the Crusades. In Brazil, ginger arrived less than a century after its discovery. Today, ginger is grown mainly on the coast of Estado Santa Catarina, Paraná, and in the south of São Paulo. due to the more suitable climate and soil conditions. Ginger has a spicy flavor and can be used in both savory and sweet dishes and in different forms: fresh, dried, pickled or candied. What is not recommended is to substitute one for the other in recipes, as their flavors are very different. Dried ginger is more aromatic and has a milder flavor. Fresh ginger is widely used in China, Japan, Indonesia, India and Thailand. In Japan, it is customary to use the juice with squeezed ginger to season chicken and preserves beni shoga made with young rhizomes and consumed pure or with sushi. Crystallized ginger is one of the most consumed confections in Southeast Asia. Its underground stem has been used as a spice since antiquity, in cooking and in the preparation of medicines. Ginger contains 1.5% to 3% volatile oil, with the typical value being around 2%. The volatile oil is primarily composed of sesquiterpenyl hydrocarbons. This group of compounds represents approximately 50% to 60% of the volatile oil. Oxygenated sesquiterpenes are present in up to 17% and the remainder is composed of monoterpene hydrocarbons and oxygenated monoterpenes. Of the sesquiterpene hydrocarbons, they have approximately 20% to 30% of zingiber, up to 12% of bisabolene, up to 19% of plus-AR curcumin and up to 10% of farnesene. A sensory study showed that sesquiphalane and AR curcumin are the main components of the ginger flavor, while trpinol and citral contribute to the lemon flavor. This high lemon flavor and high citral content are typical of Australian ginger, which contains up to 19.3% citral, while in other varieties this content does not exceed 4%. The pungency or burning of ginger has been the subject of many studies and is believed to be due to the presence of three components: gingerol, shogaol and xylitol. Fresh ginger contains gingerol, which can be described as a series of combinations with the general structure 1,4-hydroxy-3-methoxyphenyl 5-hydroxyalkane 3,1. They are primarily condensation products of xylitol with saturated straight-chain aldehydes at lengths 6, 8, and 10. The ash and acid-insoluble ash contents should be less than 5% and 1%, respectively. According to OFTA standards, humidity should not exceed 12%. Ginger is not used in the food industry in its entire form, but in the form of pieces or slices for preserving meat and pickled cucumbers. In powder form it is used in a variety of baked goods such as ginger cakes, spice cakes and carrot cakes, in combination with nutmeg, allspice and cinnamon. Ginger is also used extensively in Oriental dishes. Ginger powder, oleoresin and oils are also used in the processed meat industry in a variety of sausages. Ginger oleon resin is the main flavor component of the English beer called ginger ale. Laurel bay leaves, Laurus nobilis is widely used in condiments and cooking in general. Bay leaves contain approximately 1.5% to 2% volatile oil. Its main component is cineol. Bay oleon resin contains between 4% to 8% volatile oil. The humidity limit set by AFTA is 9%. The humidity of powdered blonde is normally below 7%. Levels of ash and acid-insoluble ash should be maintained at approximately 4% and 0.8%, respectively, in good quality bay leaves. Audio recorded August 21, 2023 by Cybelle Manvailer for educational sharing in audiobook Flor de Ouro Malik Cosa Nova. Usually, in industry, laurel is not used in the form of whole leaves, but ground, in powder form. Only home users and food service use laurel in the form of whole leaves. Bay leaves are an important component in preserving marinades for processed meats and in the production of pickled cucumbers. However, they are usually used in crushed form, approximately 1/8 and 1/4 in size. Ground bay leaf is used in many spice blends. Nutmeg, mace and nutmeg, Myristica fragrans out like most spices, was brought to the West by the Arabs, quickly becoming, along with paprika, one of the most expensive and sought-after spices. Its flavor resembles a mixture of black pepper and cinnamon, but more subtle and aromatic. As it is slightly astringent, it is best used in savory dishes. It is widely used in cooking due to its versatility, serving from sweet and savory dishes, to cookies, pies, puddings and cakes, to meat and poultry, as a condiment. Nutmeg contains 25% to 40% fixed non-volatile oils and makes 20% to 35%. Nutmeg contains 90% saturated acids, with myristic acid being its main component, 70% to 90%. Mace contains a much higher ratio of unsaturated acids, approximately 60% of fixed oils. Nutmeg contains a high level of volatile oils, about 6% to 15%, whose composition is about 61% to 88% of monoterpene hydrocarbons, mainly epinene and sabine, 5% to 15% of monoterpenes oxygenates, and 2% to 18% aromatic esters, mainly myristicin. In some circles, it is considered that, due to this myristicin content, nutmeg has hallucinogenic properties, but this effect only occurs after ingestion of large amounts, that is, already at values close to the lethal dose, and will be yet another consequence the individual response of each organism to exposure to an overdose than to a psychotropic effect. During storage, the volatile oils in nutmeg decrease as does the percentage of myristicin that hydrolyzes to myristic acid. Mace contains higher levels of volatile oils, 15% to 25%. Moisture levels should not exceed 8% in both mace and nutmeg. The ash and acid-insoluble ash content must be less than 2% and 3% and 0.5% respectively for nutmeg, and 2% and 5% and 0.5% for mace. Nutmeg is used in the food industry much more than mace. Nutmeg complements cinnamon and is often found in combination with this seasoning. Oregano Origanum vulgar is a perennial and aromatic herb, similar to the French marjolaine or marjoram, and widely used in Mediterranean cuisine. In fact, apart from a few different botanical characters, it has the same history and the same uses, with the cultivated species, Marjoram hortensis Monch, being considered the true marjoram, while the other is the wild form more commonly called oregano, or Origanum vulgar. Marjoram has a slightly different flavor due to the phenolic compounds present in its aromatic oils. Both belong to the Lamiaceae family. Oregano has high antioxidant activity due to the presence of phenolic acid and flavonoids. Additionally, it has antimicrobial properties against bacteria, such as Listeria monocytogenes, and other pathogens present in food, which makes it help to preserve food. Its leaves are used, fresh or dried, for the flavor and aroma they give to dishes. Dried leaves are considered to have better flavor. It's an essential ingredient in Italian cuisine, where it's used in tomato sauces, sautéed vegetables, meat and, of course, pizza. Together with basil, it gives the character of Italian cuisine. In Portugal, it is indispensable in making snails, and is also used in stews and in tomato and fresh cheese or cream cheese salads. It also appears, albeit on a smaller scale, in Spanish, French, Mexican and Greek cuisine. Mediterranean oregano contains about 2.0% volatile oils. Mexican oregano has a higher content of volatile oils. The main volatile components of oregano are thymol and carvacrol. Mexican oregano has a higher percentage of thymol and a lower percentage of carvacrol than Mediterranean oregano. Batch-to-batch variations are huge. The thymol content can vary from 0.9% to 26.7% in Greek oregano and from 0.7% to 40% in Mexican oregano. Carvacrol varies from 32% to 85% in Greek oregano, and from 15% to 41% in Mexican oregano. The humidity limit recommended by ASTA is 10%. Ash and acid-insoluble ash levels can be quite high in oregano. Typical values for raw, uncleaned oregano can be as high as 10% and 2.5%, respectively. Mediterranean oregano is mostly used in Italian products, in combination with basil or marjoram. It is used in sauces, meats, pizzas and a variety of other products, across all food categories. Mexican oregano is mostly used in Mexican foods such as chilies, tacos, burritos and others. It has a harsher flavor that complements these dishes well. In fact, the combination of oregano and cumin often has a flavor that is typically recognizable as Mexican. Allspice Pimenta dioica is also known by the names pepper myrtle, pepper and crown pepper. The leaves of this tree have medicinal uses in gynecological ailments or as an analgesic and in the manufacture of cosmetics and perfumes. The wood is used for the construction of furniture and rural buildings. The flowers are useful for honey production and the trees for shading coffee plantations, as living fences or as ornamentals. It is native to the Neotropics, to which its current distribution is restricted. Mexico, Belize, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Cuba and Jamaica. Audio recorded August 21, 2023 by Cybelle Manvailer for educational sharing in audiobook. Flor de aromatic Cosa Nova. Its flavor is highly appreciated and resembles the combination of cinnamon, nutmeg and cloves. The interior of the fruit contains two seeds that, after being processed, give a flavor, especially for preserves, and are used for seasoning meat and seafood. White allspice is ideal for white meats, mayonnaise and white sauces, as it is milder. Black is recommended for red meat. Ground pepper is used to flavor cakes, biscuits, puddings, meats, soups and sauces. Allspice contains essential oils in two separate parts of the plant. The oil can be obtained from the leaf of the tree or from the berry itself. The primary components of the essential oil obtained from the berries are eugenol 60% to 75%, eugenol methyl ether, cineol, phellandrine and caryophyllene. Eugenol is also the main component of cloves, thus the similarity in taste. The oil extracted from the leaves has a different flavor profile, although, again, eugenol is the major component. The volatile oil content may vary, however. Typical levels found in good quality fresh allspice are around 3% to 4%. This level may vary depending on origins, climatic and harvest conditions, as well as drying and processing methods. It was also observed that the larger the berry size, the lower the volatile oil content. Another important specification is humidity. Casa recommends a 12% moisture limit for whole, unground berries. Ash and acid-insoluble ash contents should be 5% and 1%, respectively, for clean and whole berries. Allspice is used in a variety of foods, primarily as a background flavor in combination with other sweet spices, for example in baked goods such as cakes and biscuits. It is also used extensively in the processed meat industry, mainly in two forms: the essential oil, both from berries and leaves, and oleoresin. It is popular in the Caribbean, in Jamaican foods and seasoning mixes. Audio recorded August 21, 2023 by Cybelle Manvailer for educational sharing in audiobook Flor de Ouro Malik Cosa Nova. Thanks for your interest. Like and share so you can find those interested in the subject. The right to share for the visually impaired. Non-profit according to the law number 9.610 of February 19, 1998. Chapter ID Limitations to Copyright Art. 46. It does not constitute an offense to copyright I. reproduction, d. of literary, artistic or scientific works, for the exclusive use of the visually impaired, whenever the non-commercial reproduction is carried out using the Braille system or any other procedure on any support for these recipients. Law number 13146 of July 6, 2015 establishes the Brazilian law for the inclusion of persons with disabilities Statute of the Person with Disabilities. Chapter II Assistive Technology. Art. 74. Persons with disabilities are guaranteed access to assisted technology products, resources, strategies, practices, processes, methods and services that maximize their autonomy, personal mobility and quality of life. Chapter IV. The right to education. Art. 27. Education is a right of persons with disabilities, ensuring an inclusive educational system at all levels and lifelong learning, in order to achieve the maximum possible development of their talents and physical, sensorial, intellectual and social abilities, according to their characteristics, interests and learning needs. Also for update, the Commission on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities approved a proposal that requires in public libraries. The provision of publications accessible to people with visual impairments, such as audiobooks, and technologies that allow access to written text by alternative means. Source: Camera de Notices Agency. Chapter IX. The right to culture, sport, tourism and leisure. Art. 42. Persons with disabilities have the right to culture, sport, tourism and leisure on an equal basis with other people, with guaranteed access to cultural assets in an accessible format. Television programs, cinema, theater and other cultural and sports activities in an accessible format, that is, monuments and places of cultural importance and spaces that offer services or cultural and sporting events. 1. It is prohibited to refuse the offer of an intellectual work in an accessible format for people with disabilities, under any argument, including under the allegation of protection of intellectual property rights.